New video first aired by CNN shows a new angle of the terrifying moments in the sky. An American Airlines regional jet colliding mid-air with an Army Black Hawk helicopter crashing into the frigid Potomac. 28 people identified. Among the dead, members of U.S. figure skating.
The New York Times is reporting that the helicopter may have been flying outside of its approved flight path and higher than it should have been.
American 3130, go around, turn left in 250, climb maintain 3000.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130.
That plane crash was not an accident. And I promise you it wasn't an accident.
You know, I gotta say this. Shame on anybody making videos after this plane crash. I mean, I see conspiracy videos already popping up. I'm thinking to myself, do you understand that families were waiting for other family members that were on the flight, that were texting them, letting them know, you know, we're about to land in 20 minutes. And you have thirsty people online already making videos about conspiracies.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and back to a brand new video. This video, I'm gonna just say it, is gonna be a little bit more darker and morbid than what I normally do because it has to do directly with an event that just happened that I'm sure most of us have heard about or have seen so far in the news. And of course, that is the crash that happened between the military Black Hawk helicopter and American Airlines flight 5342, which crashed this past week in DC. Very, very tragically. And the reason why I'm making this video is because, of course, when something happens like this, right, a tragedy happens, people oftentimes are very quick to jump to conclusions, to jump to conspiracy theories, to blame somebody, whether it be people on the left or people on the right. People blame and they try to narrate the story before the facts have really come out. So this video is pretty much putting everyone in check and saying, everyone relax. Let's actually sit here and try to sift through the facts of this case and of this crash and try to figure it out, as opposed to trying to be the first one to blame so-and-so, regardless of who it is, because I'm seeing it on both sides and it's disgusting, quite frankly, because at the end of all of this are real people who lost their lives and family members that are left with no answers right now but sorrow and grief. So yesterday I came across a very informative video. Now when I first watched the original footage and I saw the crash, which I'm sure we all saw, my first thought was, okay, this is insane. That's number one. Number two, I noticed that there was a third plane that was in view and in sight that was flying over the actual collision that happened, all in the same proximity to each other. Of course, as I'm scrolling through social media, I'm seeing conspiracy theories. This is the terrorist attack. This was done on purpose. This is somebody had a remote control. You know, this is a time machine thing because back in 1961, figure skaters died in the same way. And now years later, the same thing happened. This is all a conspiracy. Here's why I put that on pause, right? It's easy for us as people who are not affected by this to have those opinions, to jump down the rabbit hole, to put our investigator hat on and entertain ourselves with the what ifs. Think about it from the perspective of somebody who lost someone. Imagine you lost your spouse, your sister, your mom, your child, and you're grieving for your loved one, and you go online briefly and you see people having a field day with conspiracy theories that are not based on truth or fact. Imagine how you would feel. Just for a second, imagine how you would feel and how insensitive it is for people to try and create conspiracy theories or do the blame game for political gain. Pretty gross. So with that said, when I watched this video last night, it really put things into perspective for me, and it also kind of confirmed what my original feelings were when I saw that third plane. So I'm going to play this video for you guys. It's from TikTok, so it's going to be shot not in landscape, unfortunately, but it's really informative video, and I think one that needs to be seen because it gives a objective perspective of what could have gone wrong that night. So without further ado, let's watch this together and then come back.
How did an American Airlines plane and a Black Hawk helicopter end up in a tragic crash while the plane was attempting to land on runway 33? In the videos ahead, we'll take a closer look at the final hours leading up to the crash, the confusion between the PAT-25 VIP military helicopter and the air traffic controller, and how the rescue operation is being carried out. More details all in the video ahead. The plane had departed from Wichita Dwight D. Eisenhower National Airport in Kansas earlier that evening. A PSA Airlines aircraft, operated under American Airlines and identified as Flight AA5342, collided midair with a military Black Hawk helicopter at approximately 9 p.m. on Wednesday, January 29, 2025. The tragic incident occurred as the plane was making its final approach toward Reagan Washington National Airport in Arlington, Virginia. American Airlines confirmed that 64 people were aboard the jet, 60 passengers and 4 crew members. while 3 soldiers were aboard the military helicopter. This plane's radio transponder stopped transmitting about 2,400 feet, which is around 730 meters short of the runway, roughly over the middle of the river. This has marked the first major U.S. commercial crash in more than 15 years. From an aerial perspective, it is evident that Flight A5342 was approaching the airport from the south, descending over the scenic Potomac River. This area is known for its proximity to several iconic landmarks, such as the Pentagon, located nearby in Pentagon City. To the north, one can spot the striking dome of the United States Capitol building, a symbol of American democracy. The Potomac River, which encircles the airport and much of Arlington, serves as a natural boundary and offers breathtaking views for arriving flights. However, this area is also densely trafficked, both by air and on the ground, adding to the complexity of air traffic management in the region. American Airlines Flight 5342, which we'll refer to as the landing flight, was on its final approach to runway 33. At this stage, called short final, the aircraft was mere moments from landing, flying at an altitude of about 400 feet. This is the most critical phase of landing, where every second counts and pilots are laser-focused on safely bringing the plane down. At the same time, an Army Black Hawk helicopter, identified as PAT-25, was reportedly on a possible training flight. It was flying perpendicular to the flight path of Flight 5342, following the course of the Potomac River. The Potomac River is a designated flight corridor for helicopters, and it's common to see aircraft like this operating in the area. The key difference between the two aircraft in this scenario was their operating rules. The Black Hawk helicopter PAT-25 was flying under visual flight rules. This means it was required to rely on visual observation of its surroundings to avoid other aircraft. The landing Flight 5342 was operating under instrument flight rules, which give it priority over VFR flights in controlled airspace. This system assumes that VFR aircraft will actively maintain visual separation to avoid conflicts. Moments before the collision, the air traffic control tower at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport called PAT-25 to confirm whether they had the other aircraft in sight. PAT-25 responded that they did. At first glance, this seems like an acknowledgement that they were aware of Flight 5342's presence and were taking steps to avoid it. However, it now seems likely that PAT-25 had mistakenly identified a different aircraft, possibly a departing flight from the same airport, and believed that was the other aircraft referred to by the tower. Tragically, PAT-25 may not have realized that Flight 5342 was descending directly into its path. This misidentification could have led to the Black Hawk failing to adjust its course in time to avoid a collision. Although I'm not a pilot, this is what appears to have happened based on the available information. It's a heartbreaking incident that raises questions about how such misunderstandings can occur and what safety measures can prevent them in the future. If you have more insight or expertise, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. The passenger plane broke into multiple pieces and sank several feet into the river. Meanwhile, the helicopter ended up landing upside down on the water. Regarding the rescue mission, the main challenge is access. The water they're working in is about 8 feet deep, which is roughly 2.5 meters. On top of that, the conditions are tough. There's strong wind, chunks of ice floating around, which obstructs rescue workers. We also have audio from air traffic control that has been published online, capturing the moments as the two aircraft approach each other. In the recording, we can hear a conversation. It appears to involve the air traffic controller, with P standing for priority air transport, the helicopter, and CRJ referring to the passenger plane. The response seems to come from a helicopter, but something goes terribly wrong. The two aircraft continue to move closer to each other until they crash, and there was no response from the other side. This long-shot video, recorded by the Kennedy Center cam, seems to show two aircraft, a helicopter and a commercial airliner, colliding, creating a huge flash. If you take a close-up shot, you can clearly see the Black Hawk helicopter traveling at an alarmingly high speed directly towards the plane, a moment of impending danger captured in stark detail. According to reports, the situation unfolded due to apparent confusion on the part of the Black Hawk pilot. He was seemingly unaware of the presence of a second aircraft in the vicinity, which ultimately led to a critical misjudgment. When the flight controller radioed in, asking if the pilot had identified Flight 5342, the pilot confidently confirmed that he had visual contact. However, the plane he was referring to wasn't Flight 5342, it was a completely different aircraft flying above his position. This misidentification proved costly. The pilot, certain he was operating safely, continued his course. Tragically, he ended up flying directly into the path of an oncoming aircraft. The sequence of events highlights the immense complexity and risks of aviation, where even small communication errors or lapses in situational awareness can lead to dangerous, life-threatening outcomes.
Pretty interesting, isn't it? I mean, it gives you a full perspective of what could have gone wrong. And what really struck me was the fact that the helicopter acknowledged the plane, right? Acknowledged the commercial flight and let the air traffic controller know, I can see, the plane. And then a crash happens anyway. And again, the fact that there was another plane in the same range, I believe that it's possible that the helicopter pilot may have mistaken the wrong plane and didn't realize, because of the curvature of where they were flying through, that there was a blind spot. And the reason why I say that is because in doing research, I found that this actual airspace is really, really dangerous. Watch this video explaining a little bit more in detail of what I mean.
Military officials say the pilots were experienced and were conducting an annual night training mission known as a check ride. Meanwhile, American Airlines Flight 5342 was traveling north toward Reagan National. It was originally supposed to land on runway 1, with a flight path that goes up the river. But at approximately 8:42 p.m., minutes before landing, the jet was told to use a different, shorter runway.
Check runway 33.
Yeah, we can do 33 for boost 6342.
Change confirm for runway 33, runway 33 clear to land.
Runway changes aren't unusual, but it meant the plane had to bow right before turning sharply left and cutting across the helicopter corridor. A move that pilots say makes the jet hard for helicopters to see, especially at a low altitude.
Confusion with ground lights is what it's called. When you're flying south and you get just to the east of the airport, off to the left is southeast DC. And so there's a lot of city lights, street lights. I-295 is over there, so there's a lot of vehicle lights. What happens is low-flying aircraft will get lost in the background of all those city lights, and you can't see them if they're moving towards you, away from you, or you can't see them at all.
Horrific. Absolutely horrific. And when you hear the explanation and you get more in detail into the specifics, you start realizing that this was just a horrible mistake, a horrible accident, a horrible tragedy. And I just want us to be sensitive to that, as opposed to being so quick to jumping to our conspiracy theories and putting on our aluminum foil hats and going, directly to the aliens did it. Now, with that, I need to address politically wise why I'm disappointed. Of course, with the left, because it's the left, but also with some people on the right who are also politicizing this. So you have people on the left like Sonny Hostin and others that are blaming Donald Trump.
This comes after Trump froze the hiring of air traffic controllers and offered them buyouts to leave their jobs earlier this week. He also reportedly fired hundreds of critical staff and allowed Elon to seemingly push the head of the FAA out.
Just last week, Trump fired the heads of the Transportation Security Administration and Coast Guard, and he also eliminated all the members of a key aviation security advisory group. I think that is very telling, that when, voters decide that they want someone to blow things up and they want someone to blow up infrastructures, this is the result.
Now, the reason why this doesn't really fly is because many experts have already said that having one air traffic controller controlling helicopters and planes at the same time is actually very normal. So one person controlling the airspace that night wasn't because Donald Trump did an overhaul and fired a bunch of people, and therefore it's his fault, when this was something that was very normal. In fact, if Donald Trump had kept the FAA the way that it was before he became president, I'm pretty sure that the crash still would have happened, because there still would have only been one person working that night. But of course, that isn't convenient for the left, so they have to politicize this and blame Donald Trump and say it's his fault, he did it, see what happens, he's corrupt, blah, blah, blah. Ridiculous, stupid, out of touch, psychotic. But on the flip side, I have to say I am not in favor of Donald Trump blaming DEI for this crash either, because as we know, there is no factual evidence that the person that was working at the air traffic controller was a DEI hire. That's all like speculation. And I think it's dangerous when we start speculating on either side and go to the extremes on either side and politicize this on either side, because real answers aren't really being sought after. We're just trying to play the blame game. And again, I take it back to the victims and their families, the people who want real answers, who are devastated because their loved ones are dead. Like this young man who was sitting at the airport that same night, who had just got a text from his girlfriend that they were about to land before her plane crashed.
I'm just praying that somebody's pulling her out of the river right now as we speak. That's all I can pray for. I'm just praying to God.
When was the last time you spoke with her?
She texted me that they were landing in 20 minutes.
Can you show us a text message that you got from her?
landing in 20 minutes. The rest of my text did not get delivered. That's when I realized something might be up.
So look, this is still so fresh, right? This just happened last week. I'm sure once they are able to obtain the black boxes from the helicopter, they can, put this more into perspective to understand exactly what happened or what conclusions could be made by the black boxes. I do believe that it's possible that the helicopter mistook the plane that was taken off with the plane that was landing, and that could have caused a collision. Factor in also, it was dark. Factor in that the angle of which they were flying in, there was a blind spot. A lot of things went wrong based on human error. My heart just breaks because I'm sure we've all been on airplanes when we're about to land. And you know that feeling when you're about to land of like, oh, we made it. Thank God. We're safe. We're here. Like, I've done it many times. I don't like flying on planes. I avoid planes at all costs. But if I do have to fly on planes, I'm normally very, very grateful when I can see that the landing strip is like right there. And I'm sure that many other people on the flight had the same feeling. We're here, and then boom, a crash happens right before they land. Devastating, absolutely devastating. I think to accuse the military pilot as being some type of suicidal person or doing this on purpose is unfounded, and it's really just jumps down the rabbit hole that has no ending. I'm more into facts, proof. And if there is no proof, I think going down that rabbit hole doesn't really do any justice to the victims, to their families, or to yourself. So with that, I say, everyone take a breather, touch some grass, and let's gain some perspective here. My heart goes out to the victims. My heart goes out to the families that are left with sorrow and grief. I just hope and pray that those people can gain peace that surpasses all understanding. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this tragedy. What are your thoughts? Do you think it was just human error? Do you think that there's something more going on? I would love to know your thoughts down below. Please be respectful in the comments as we discuss this topic because it is a very sensitive topic, and again, real lives were lost. If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video. Until next time.